and he saw three men coming down the path, and he hasted out to meet them, and having no idea who they were just wayfaring strangers so far as Abraham was concerned. He set the table, killed the fatted calf, and come to find out who were his three visitors. Well, one was the Lord himself, and the other two were angels. So he actually entertained angels unawares. And I think Lot probably did, not realizing who was escorting him out of Sodom. Well, I don't think that the Scripture teaches that if we're hospitable, that we're actually going to have angelic creatures having visited our abode. But I think Iris and I can testify the fact that, you know, when people stop in from all parts of the country, total strangers, and they sit down at the table with us, and when they leave, it's like having had angels in our attendance. It's been a joyful experience, and I think that's what the apostle is talking about. Don't close your door to strangers. Be hospitable, because you might be experiencing an angelic experience, even though it won't be in the winged variety. It'll just simply be fellow believers. All right, so some have thereby entertained angels unawares. Now then, verse 3, this was especially appropriate in Paul's day, and of course in some areas of the world now, and will also be appropriate in the tribulation period, when he says, remember them who are in bonds, or those who are in prison. Because back in Paul's day, the authorities didn't provide the food, not even the swill that the BC character gets. They got nothing unless their friends and relatives brought them food. And so Paul says, don't forget these folks who are in prison for their faith. And I'm sure it's probably that way in some areas of the world even today. And I know it will be in the tribulation. Now you say, how do you know? Well, I always have to do everything with Scripture, don't I? Come back with me to Matthew 25. Matthew 25. And now I didn't intend to do this either, so Jerry, I might not get done. Matthew 25. But here we have the survivors of the tribulation, remember, that are brought to Jerusalem, supernaturally, of course, in Matthew 25, verse 31. And we know that this is after the tribulation, because the king has just established the kingdom, and he's ready to get the ball rolling to repopulate the planet. And we know from Isaiah 24 that there will be some survivors after the horrors of the tribulation. All right, here they come, supernaturally brought. Verse 31 of Matthew 25. So when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. In other words, as King of kings and Lord of lords. And as king, on his throne there in Jerusalem, before him shall be gathered all nations. In other words, these survivors from all the nations. Now, there won't be that many, just a few. All right, and so he brings them all to Jerusalem, and since there will be saved and lost amongst the survivors, the first thing he does is separates them. He puts the saved on one side, and they're likened to the sheep. The lost go to his left, and they're likened to a shepherd dividing his goats. But all I want you to see is that they're going to be visiting people. But all I want you to see is that they're going to be visiting people. Well, so much for that. That was just what I call. Well, so much for that. That was just